In a little shop filled with clocks that ticked and books that smelled of rain sat a delicate teacup with painted blue flowers and a tiny gold rim. Its handle had a hairline crack, and a chip on its edge made it look like it had smiled just once too wide. But if you looked closely, you'd feel something more than porcelain and paint. You'd feel stories. Because this teacup had travelled the world, not on wheels or wings, but in hands and hearts. The teacup was first made in a small village nestled in the green hills of France, long before airplanes flew or cities gleamed. It belonged to Lucille, a baker's daughter with flour on her cheeks and laughter in her steps. Every afternoon she poured warm tea into the little cup and shared it with her grandfather, who told her stories of far-off places. One day, war reached their village. People fled. Lucille packed a few things, a scarf, a letter, and the teacup, and handed them to a soldier heading east. "Give this to someone kind," she said, pressing the cup into his hands. The soldier, young and quiet, carried it through wind and snow until he reached Poland. In a cold train station, shivering from frost, he met Anya, a widowed librarian who gave him a scarf and bread without asking for anything in return. "I have nothing but this," he said, offering the teacup. Anya touched the painted blue flowers. "It's beautiful." She kept the cup by her window. At night, she sipped from it while reading letters from her son, who was away helping rebuild villages. The cup, she said, reminded her of gentler times. When peace returned, Anya passed the cup on. "To my son's teacher," she smiled, "because kindness should continue." The cup travelled next to Turkey, tucked in the luggage of a teacher named Kemal, who taught refugee children in tents near the sea. He poured sweet tea into the cup for students who cried or missed their homes. He told them, "This cup has travelled more than we have, and it's still here, cracks and all." The children smiled, ran their fingers along the chip, and told their stories into the steam. They said the cup listened better than grown-ups. When the school closed, Kamal wrapped the cup in cloth and gave it to a student leaving for Canada. In snowy Toronto, the cup sat in a cabinet belonging to Layla, a girl who had never seen her grandparents' village in Syria but knew their stories by heart. Each time she drank mint tea from the teacup, she felt a little closer to home. Layla brought the cup to school one day for show and tell. Her classmates gasped at the gold rim and the faded flowers. One boy asked, "Why not just use a new cup?" Layla smiled, "Because this one has stories inside." After the presentation, her teacher approached her. "Do you think the cup is ready for one more journey?" And so the cup travelled again, this time not in secret, but as a symbol of connection. It was placed in a glass box and sent to different schools, each in a new country. In India, a boy poured chai into it and told how his grandfather used to plant marigolds with him. In Mexico, a girl shared tamarind tea and remembered her abuela, who danced in the kitchen while cooking. In Kenya, a class filled the cup with rainwater during a ceremony, calling it the traveller's blessing, and every time someone added a small note, folded paper tucked inside the box, telling what the cup had meant to them. Years passed, the teacup was scratched, a little more chipped, and the gold rim had faded in places. But now it had a scrapbook of notes in many languages, with drawings, maps, and even a tiny photograph of Lucille, the baker's daughter, now old and smiling. Eventually, the cup returned to the very shop in France where it was first sold. The shopkeeper, who had inherited the place from his grandmother, placed it in the front window with a sign, "The cup that carried kindness." One rainy afternoon, a little girl pressed her nose to the glass. "Papa," she said, tugging her father's coat, "can we go see it?" They stepped inside. The shopkeeper carefully lifted the cup and placed it in the girl's hands. "It's just a teacup," the father said, smiling. The shopkeeper shook his head gently. "Ah, but not quite. It's held tea, yes, but also tears, smiles, and hopes." The little girl ran her finger over the faded flowers and said softly, "It feels warm." And maybe that's what made the cup special. It wasn't perfect. It had been chipped, cracked, and passed from hand to hand through the hardest and happiest of times. But every journey, every pour of tea, every shared moment, it had all added meaning. The cup showed that even fragile things can carry strong messages, and that kindness, like tea, is best when shared.